All right, well, the midterms may be over, but the elections are still a major topic for people across the country, especially here in Mississippi.
Yes, Mr. Roland Martin is here to talk with us all about voting and what's going on in Washington. First off, I want to ask you, with everything that's been going on right here in Mississippi and the comments that have been made about one of our senators, how are we being viewed by people in Washington and the rest of the states in this country?
Well, that's one of the fundamental issues. Obviously, Mississippi has to deal with its past. When you still have a state that has a Confederate emblem on its state flag, it is still an issue. And so certainly there's been lots of discussion on social media, on my show and others, with regard to the comments by Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. And so even, not just the public hanging comment, but for her to say, well, I was just joking about voter suppression. Well, that is not something that anybody from Mississippi should be joking about. When Medgar Evers gave his life to vote, when you look at Fannie Lou Hamer, when you look at the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, that's not a joking matter to black folks. When you talk about voter suppression, we do know it exists across this country. When you have the federal courts, let's say in North Carolina, Republicans there, they wrote in the decision there was a laser-like targeting of black voters. That is not a laughing matter to a lot of African Americans. And it shouldn't be a laughing matter to white Americans, whether you're Republican or Democrat, because we can't say voting is the most important thing in terms of about being in a democracy, and then you joke about, well, let's try to keep some other folks from voting. Yeah, not a smart thing from her, and her explanation, frankly, has been weak.
We've been talking about how important this midterm has been, this whole process. What would you say to some of our viewers and our voters to make sure that they understand the importance of making sure they get out there and exercise that right?
Well, not just the midterms, because the reality is what happens is we spend so much time focusing on who's running for senator, member of Congress, who's running for governor, but there's also those down ballot races. When you talk about people who are district attorneys, who are judges, more of our lives are impacted by those down ballot races, who's on the school board as well. And too often we ignore that. You think about criminal justice reform. You think it's all happening was in D.C. Well, there are 2.3 million people who are in prison in America, only a couple 100,000 on the federal level. So the real issue with mass incarceration is happening on the state and the local level. So who you vote for in those races is critically important. I would say this here to the people who say, well, you know what, sure, I can vote, it's not going to make a difference. I got a very simple statement. Vote or shut the hell up. Because the reality is every facet of our lives is impacted by politics. When I talk to conservatives or Republicans, they say, I want government out of my life. There's no such thing. The moment you are born, government is in your life. Birth certificate, that's a government document. The moment you die, there's a death certificate. It's a government document. And so I think we have to learn how to connect the dots to say, how is my life impacted? Decisions made about Medicaid, rural hospitals, those are governmental decisions as to whether or not they stay open. Trust me, if you're sick, you're living in rural Mississippi or North Carolina or Texas, and you can't get to a hospital, trust me, you're concerned about what decisions were made that impacted that hospital either closing down or its doors staying open. And so I think we have to learn how to connect the dots to say, how does this matter? Look, we're in a state where a majority of, or close to majority of its budget comes from the federal government. That's real, and that impacts regular, ordinary people.
All right, great. And you are here in town, and you're filming a part of your show as well.
Yeah, doing my show, Roland Martin Unfiltered, our digital show. And so we're doing that here, but we also doing lots of stories. And then I'll also be speaking tomorrow at the Get Out the Vote prayer rally tomorrow, because that's why I support the folks at Black Voters Matter, because again, many of our lives have been changed based upon voting. And so I tell anybody, I don't care who you are, don't sit your behind at home. And if you sit at home and you don't vote, I don't want to hear any complaining, any whining, because you have the opportunity to impact our society with your ballot. If you didn't use it, shame on you.
Like you said, vote or shut up.
Yeah, vote. No, I say vote or shut the hell up. Because sometimes you got to give folks attention.
He's unfiltered. I'm not.
That's why the show's called Unfiltered.
Right.
Precisely.
All right. Thank you, Brother Martin. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
All right. We'll be right back after this.